Hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are out there in the world. I'm Susan Sheehan, and it is my absolute pleasure to have you here with us today, SC7 TV, where you're going to be inspired and informed so you can escape the ordinary. Have with us today Pippa Cox. Now, Pippa Cox is founder of Pippa Cox Consulting. She is a professional coach and consultant, and she specializes in working with women through early childhood and pregnancy. Pippa, hello, and I know you like to be called Pippa. Thank you for being with us today.
And thank you so much for having me, Susan. It's really a beautiful pleasure.
Now, why do we have Pippa with us today? Well, this woman is one amazing human being. She is a midwife, or a former midwife. She was a midwife for 20 years, and she has delivered thousands of babies. How many babies have you delivered in total?
I think it's well over 3,000,
Can you
and
imagine?
I've witnessed 4 or 5 times more than that.
So she is what we would consider an authority in this. I think one of the most precious times in a woman's life. Would you agree with that, Pippa, that giving birth would be one of the most precious times in a woman's life?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it even trumps an actual wedding day, because it's the time that a woman transforms from a maiden, or from a woman without a child, to a mother, or if she's got a first child, to transforms to having another child. And every time you're going through pregnancy and childbirth and go into motherhood, you're a different person. That is what
Yes, I
I've
think
witnessed time and time again.
yes, I think the growth aspect of giving birth is very significant. Yeah, and this, because there's so many changes, right? I mean, mental, physical, emotional. I mean, you fall pregnant, you go through this metamorphosis while you're pregnant, because you've got this little human being growing inside of you. And then at the end of the 9 months, you not only have a little human being, but you're a different human being than what you were 9 months previous. I mean, that's a lot of stuff for a woman to go through, right?
Massive. It's massive. And it's one of the reasons why women are so incredibly powerful. You know, when you look
Yes,
back through history, there's been so many cultures where women are the patriarchs.
yes. For that reason, right? So for that reason, because
Absolutely, because of the strength that we have to endure and go through the pregnancy and metamorphosize into mothers and form families and form communities and be the backbone of a community and a backbone of the family.
yes, it is, yes. That can be a whole nother subject, especially in the world we live in today, right? There's like all these pieces of conversation that
Absolutely.
can be workshops in themselves. But this is all about you. So I know that let's just take a moment to talk about your experiences as a midwife and how you yourself have metamorphosized into Pippa Cox Consulting. So I know that you've traveled the world, you've visited some amazing places, and you've delivered babies in places where most people haven't even heard of, let alone think about going in there to have a baby. So share with us a couple of the stories that you've got, because I know they just really just epitomize your strength, your courage, your empathy, and your deep understanding of what women go through.
Yeah, that is so true. And thank you so much for that beautiful compliment as well. It's been an absolute privilege to go around the world actually and do the work that I've been destined to do and love to do. One of the places I worked at was in Yemen. Has anyone heard of Yemen? It's in the Gulf. It's been in war for the past 10 years, actually. It's quite tragic what's happening there. And I had the privilege of working there in a maternity hospital. And one of the most beautiful and really interesting stories I'd love to share is,
Please do.
is when I was arriving at work one day, and a truck rolls into the courtyard right outside the maternity unit. And this woman comes in who was quite large, had a really large belly, sort of goes out of the truck, comes out of the back of the truck with a baby in her arms. And I'm really curious, like, what's she here for? She's already got a baby. And then we find out that she's still got a baby inside. So
Oh my
she
gosh.
birthed her baby the day before, and then the contractions went off and she couldn't get back into labor. So the family went around the village, raised the money to get the petrol, to get in the village truck to take her to hospital. So we checked the baby, and the baby was alive. It had a beautiful heartbeat. Her waters weren't broken, but the head was to the side. It wasn't
Oh, wow.
straight down into the pelvis. So basically, all we did is that we just moved the head down so it was in the pelvis, broke the waters, the baby's head came down, and we got her to dance the Arabic dance. And there was this beautiful sisterhood happening in the
I
unit.
can see you doing that. I can see you doing it. I can feel your energy in that room.
Yeah, and everybody was just there. There were so many women there. There was 3 midwives and a lot of women who were already in labor there. And we all danced, and we were all championing her on. And because it was her, like, I don't know, 12th baby,
Oh
she basically got into labor, 2 pushes, bang, the baby was out. Now, twins, 2 placentas, 2 sacs, both twin boys. She was very lucky to have twin boys, but both of them were fine. Both of them were pink. They were screaming. They were great weights. They were fine.
wow.
Now, this is a woman who had no antenatal care because she was in a village, a remote village in Yemen. So if we weren't there, if I wasn't there, if I was working for Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders, if they weren't there, that woman, baby would have died, and possibly she would have died.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we were just serving in the most incredible way. It was really heartfelt.
So what a special person you are to go into these places to help these women. I think that you have this deep heart feeling for what you're doing that can support women through this. And I guess, I'm just, this is an assumption, but whether it's a woman in the Yemen or whether it's a woman down the road from you on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia, the emotions and the feelings and what goes on in a woman's head and a heart would be the same.
Absolutely. We're all the same. We've all got the same hormones running through our body. It changes a little bit through culture.
Yes.
Which everything does. But when you're looking at humanity, and this is one thing that I've discovered from traveling my whole life, is that we're all the same. We've all got the same wants, the same needs, the same desires even. It's just amazing.
When you think about the shifts in culture, but when you're in that moment with a woman and that just going through that childbirth phase, or even if you're working with a woman in antenatal care, because I know that you do all of that, when there's just the two of you, none of that matters, is it? It's just about you and the mother.
Absolutely. And they all have the same needs.
Yes, you all have
Because
the
they're
same needs.
all feeling vulnerable. It's a very vulnerable time in a woman's life.
Can I
And
ask you a question? We haven't actually talked about this, but it's just popped up into my mind, and I think it could be quite significant. Do you think that women in some of these parts of the world where they don't have access to what we have experience pre- and postnatal depression?
that is a really, really good question. And from what I've seen and from what I've heard women talk about, a lot of the time, no, because they don't have the abundance that we have in Australia, in America, in Europe. their day-to-day thinking is on survival. And when your
Yes,
day-to-day thinking is in survival, you don't have the luxury to be depressed because
yes,
you're surviving.
yes, yes. So there's a bit of a lesson there for us that is spoiled in this part of the world, really, I guess, isn't there? But in saying that, not taking away from the fact that that brings in other problems. Let's face it, that does bring in other problems, other
Massive,
expectations. You know,
massive,
massive.
massive. Like I worked in northern Pakistan, very close to where Osama bin Laden got shot.
Oh gosh,
It's
but
yeah.
you are also brave, my girl.
Oh, that was an incredible experience. Bombs were going off every day. It was
Mm.
huge, huge. There was one time that I had to go to the maternity unit for an emergency. It was about 10 o'clock at night. It was an emergency, and it was about a 10-minute walk to the maternity ward. And as I'm walking down the road, and it's in an enclosed complex, guns start going off, AK-47 start going off, bing, 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 and all this shouting is going off, and I'm going, oh no, it's finally happened. The Taliban have finally struck through. We're at war. And so I basically run to the maternity ward because, you can easily get shot by a stray bullet. And when I get there, my phone rings, and it's the project coordinator. And it's going, I know you're in the maternity ward. It's okay. It's okay. It's just happy fire. There's no war because Pakistan won the cricket against India.
Oh my gosh, Pippa, that's wow. What does one say to that? Oh my gosh, thank you. Say thank you for that. Oh gosh, we live in such different worlds, don't we? In this part of the world, I don't think you can even imagine what that would be like unless you've experienced it. But being brave, I think going through pregnancy and giving birth, I think there is an element of courage and bravery needed, isn't there? Because it is going through this whole new place, this new change, this this process of transformation, personally, mentally, emotionally, physically. And one has to be brave. And yet in today's world, there does seem to be a significant number of women, maybe because of all the pressures and expectations of pre and postnatal depression. And I guess that's why you are passionate about what you're doing. So let's revisit that. But I want to just take a moment. So now you've made the decision for this metamorphosis of Pippa Cox,
Yep.
to go from being a midwife into being a coach and a consultant, supporting women emotionally, mentally, and physically through this amazing time. So tell us a bit about that. Why the shift?
Because there is a greater amount of depression, a greater amount of birth trauma. When I was working in the hospital I worked at before, which is the best hospital to birth in Queensland, I might add, we had a lot of women seeking our help because they wanted to be heard in labour because they were suffering from a traumatic birth the first time. So they actually moved their care 1 hour from the main city to our rural hospital to get care because they wanted to be heard.
Yeah, wow.
And our little tiny midwifery-led hospital was slowly getting, their medical tentacles were starting to really permeate into it. And I thought there has to be a better way to serve women. And at that stage, I was going through a personal development journey myself. I'd just been through menopause. I just hit rock bottom. I was going through a lot. So I really got into a lot of personal development. And it's like, oh my gosh, everything I was learning, oh my God, I've got to teach this to my pregnant girls. I've got to teach this to my pregnant girls. All this health stuff I learned. I mean, I've lost 14 kilos.
Yes, I know.
I know.
And I'm good about what you are doing now.
Yes. Well, what I'm doing now is that I'm supporting women. I'm even wanting to support women before they get pregnant, because that is really the ideal time. But when they are pregnant and all the way through their pregnancy journey, to inspire them, to motivate them, to give them all this information in their toolbox to be healthy through nutrition. That we are so lucky in the Western world, we have access to optimal nutrition. Take advantage of it. So when we're actually really healthy, it decreases your likelihood of developing complications.
Yes.
And not only for the woman, but for the baby, not only for the first 5 years of life, but for the rest of your baby's life. We are in the most, we're in the most abundant time in human history.
Yeah,
really.
yes, we absolutely are. And
because when we're moving our body, we're actually subverting all the effects that our modern world impacts on us. We're sitting all the time, we're driving all the time. It actually impacts the way that our baby sits in our uterus. It impacts on our birthing, because all those muscles are tight. When I was working overseas in countries where women did not sit down, where women squatted predominantly just to cook, or they lay down, or they worked in the fields all day, we never ever saw a back-to-back labour that most women present with in Western world.
Yeah, well, now that's interesting that you should say that, because I had back-to-back labours.
Yeah, and most women do.
Or back-to-back, but I'm also was very active, so there's nothing sedentary about me. So I guess, you know,
but it was how you were active, like how you were active, and how did you sit?
Well, that really is just, it's like anything we do in life, isn't it? You have to see, you've got to sort of have a plan that's specific to the outcome. And if you want to have a healthy, happy pregnancy where you're feeling in control, you're feeling peaceful, you're feeling healthy, then there are specific strategies that you need to put in place to achieve that.
Absolutely. And that's what I go through with my coaching program. My coaching program is called Pathway to Radiant Motherhood.
Yes, yes. Yes.
And it is literally a pathway to radiant motherhood. I'm defining 5 pillars that I've seen that actually work.
Yes.
Physical body, mental body, knowledge, and motherhood preparation.
And of course, as we know that, you know, it's the way, 2 things that we know, for 2 things that I can sit here and share, and I know that you'll agree, if you're listening to this, is that changing the way you're thinking about things, open up your mind to the possibility of what Pippa's talking about that could benefit you, and that coaching and consulting. And what is the difference in coaching and consulting? Coaching is more the personal aspect of who you are. Consulting is more strategic. And because Pippa has had 20 years experience in the medical world, she's a medical professional, she does both the personal and the strategies that are going to help you achieve exactly what that you want. I think having somebody there that's just wholly and solely there for that emotional and mental support then means that you can help remind them what they need to do, because I know for a fact that when you're going through labor, sometimes you forget about what you've got to do because of what's going on, you know, because of what's going on. So I guess with you being there as their partner through that, there's a greater chance of them feeling all of those wonderful feelings and enjoying it.
Absolutely. But also, Susan, the other thing that I used to love to do is when I ran my childbirth classes, I didn't run them for the women, because the women would get all their information from their midwives. I would run them predominantly for their partners, for the men. Yes, because as you know, men just want to fix things. Yeah. And men are like feeling really insecure about birth because it's all woo-woo, it's all weird, it's all it's scary for them. So I demystify birth for them. And I break it all down into behaviors. You know, I would show them the physiology of what's happening to her body, to their partner's body. And then I would break it down into the behaviors. And this is what you do for each behavior. And this is how you act, and this is what you say. Okay, wow. Okay. So that's powerful. Nothing makes a woman feel safer and that acts, that brings on that oxytocin, that hormone of love, that hormone that actually creates and basically causes labor, causes the uterus to contract, than the person that she loves, that she made a baby with, the father of her child.
So a question has come to mind. We were talking because we had a conversation. Had a conversation with Pippa before on oxytocin, which is the hormone of trust and love. So I'm just curious if oxytocin is the hormone that is flowing freely through pregnancy, then is it a hormone then that can, for some women, can have, I guess, less of it? Because is this a hormone that's also related to pre and postnatal depression?
It would on some level, but it was, when you've got to think of hormones as a cocktail.
Okay.
It's a cocktail in our bodies, and they're all interrelated. And so if you've got one hormone that isn't quite there, it isn't high enough or low enough, and it's going to affect another one. It's going to affect another one. The prime example of that is PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, in women, particularly women now who are wanting to get pregnant. We've got more PCOS now than ever before, but that's another story. And the interesting thing is with oxytocin is that if you've got a high level of oxytocin when you're in labor, it's the hormones in labor are like a dance.
Okay.
So if a woman's not feeling safe, is that oxytocin going to be high or is it going to be low?
Low.
Exactly. So what's going to happen to a labor?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and that even goes into if one of the support people or even the midwife or a doctor or anyone that comes in, that they don't feel safe, even their support person, if their mother wants to come in or their mother-in-law wants to be there and they don't have the boundaries set up that they can actually say, well, actually, no, I don't really want you there, and they let them in, they won't feel safe.
So anything that can cause them to not feel safe can lower the release of the oxytocin that's keeping them feeling trusted and loved in that space that they want to be. So it really is really important then, isn't it, for what you're doing is going to help women feel safe, be at peace, and really know how to put in those boundaries for themselves. That would be a part of it, wouldn't it, for them to know
Absolutely.
before they go in, this is what my expectation is, this is what I want, and this is what I don't want.
Absolutely, but it's boundaries all through their pregnancy as well.
Okay.
How many women, pregnant women, have someone come up and just touch their bellies?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You know, once upon a time in another life, I probably would have been that person because, you know, I did without thinking, but I wouldn't dream of doing it now.
Is a really big part of my program is rewriting all those unconscious beliefs that we don't even know we've got, particularly around childbirth. Because let's face it, we all think childbirth hurts. We all think we're all fearful of childbirth because where do we get that from?
Yeah.
You know, we get it from movies, the American movies. We get it from the media. We get it from how many bad birth stories come out when a woman says, I'm pregnant.
Oh my gosh, that puts the hairs on my neck standing up on end, because it's one thing I'm always aware of, and I really recommend to other women, do not share your pregnancy story with a new pregnant woman. It's like, you don't do it. It's sort of like unspoken language in my mind. But
yeah,
you know what, I think with education, with support, and knowing that they can have what they want, you can provide them everything they need to feel as happy and safe and peace through pregnancy and after, as much as what one can, so that they can feel like they're worthy, loved, and excited about the new journey that's ahead of them, right?
absolutely. You're not fearful and feel empowered.
Yes.
And whether it's a home birth or a hospital birth, or they're under a private obstetrician in a private hospital, to know what to say to your caregivers, to be able to have the confidence
Yes.
to be able to form a really good collaboration with them. And so when they go into labor, when you go into labor, when a woman goes into labor, no matter if it's in the public system and they've got a midwife coming in that they don't know, that they haven't met before, they've got a birth plan that is fluid. I believe in fluid birth plans. I don't believe in a 10-page birth plan, and I'm a specialist in birth plans. It's one of the things I do, first of all, in my coaching program. And it's fluid because it has to be fluid.
Well, it
The
has to be,
key
yes.
is acceptance and knowing what pathways you can go down and being accepting of it. But
I think
with the husband, with the partner,
can I
they're
just
the
hold
ones.
that thought there?
Yep.
I think that that's a really important point that we need to highlight here.
Yep.
That one of the things that you can help women with is so they can really own who they are and have the confidence to speak freely about what they want and be okay with that, own it. Because I think that in itself is a very powerful way that you can help women.
Big time, particularly at the end of pregnancy,
right.
when there is such a huge push now for inductions. They're pushing inductions for at 39 weeks now, which they never did before.
Yeah.
Our induction rate is going to go through the roof. It's already almost doubled for first-time mums in the last 10 years. It's going to go through the roof this time.
I also think that this is quite important because we also know, don't we, that when it doesn't matter whether you're pregnant or not, when you're in a heightened emotional state, quite often confidence can be put to the back burner because the emotions take over. And if you're in a highly emotional state with somebody who's trying to tell you what to do and you don't want to do it. So I think one of the things that to me is an X factor here is to help not only give women the peace and the peace of mind that they can have a fluid flowing pregnancy and birth, but also that they've got the confidence to have a voice and do and have what they want.
Absolutely, because there are options.
Yes.
There are always options. I am not against an induction of labour for medical reasons when it is warranted, because we are living in a society where we have that option to prevent really bad outcomes. Of course, that's a no-brainer.
Yes, but it has to be personalized, isn't it? It isn't about this is the way we're doing it, and then have have a line of women going, here's one at 9, one at 10, one at 11. It's about what would you like? What would you like?
Absolutely. Oh, you're 40 years old. You need an induction, and yet I am perfectly healthy. I'm feeling my body move. I'm so self-aware, and I'm fine. But yet, I've known women to literally feel bullied into an induction.
Yes,
and
I think the other thing, I think you said the other, you said something earlier about a woman being, like on the roof, but I think it's also okay for a woman to feel what she wants to feel as she's going through labor, that it's okay. That there's no right or wrong way to be in labor. This is all about you and your experience with your labor. And I think that's another aspect to the coaching that could really help a woman.
Absolutely. Because everybody is different. And this is one of the reasons why I loved being a midwife, because every woman is different. Every pregnancy is different. Even when a woman is having a first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. I mean, the most amount of babies I have seen one woman have is 26. 26 babies. She had them in drawers. She would put them in drawers.
I can't even imagine it. It's like
a Monty Python movie.
It's like beyond comprehension, really, isn't it? Oh my gosh! You know what? I know that a couple of we've talked briefly about pre and postnatal depression. That your coaching is going to help women even avoid that. We can't make promises but we know that when you put in the right strategies and you follow the plan and you've got that support, that mental and emotional support, that you can, I think, stop that from happening. Can't promise it, but I think you can certainly manage it. But then there's also I know that there's also that question out there, how do I not get fat when I'm pregnant? Because I know that's another thing that women worry about, isn't it?
Yes.
You're going to you're going to look fat until you're about 4 or 5 months pregnant, but how do I not get fat? So just quickly before we finish up today, what's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on gaining weight and that whole managing self? Because, you know, once upon a time, and I don't know, do they still have this conversation? You're eating for two, so eat what you want.
Yes, no, not anymore. Not anymore.
No.
That's gone. That's gone that way. That's gone.
Okay, so
And
that's old-fashioned, huh?
yes, yes, yes. And it's true because your body is morphing before your eyes.
Yes.
And a lot of women have body issues even when they're not pregnant. And
Yes.
it's amplified when they're pregnant.
Yes.
It's massive. And so the thing is to eat a healthy diet. And I take women step by step by step into how to eat a healthy diet. And if you eat a healthy diet and if you exercise, I've got variations of exercise. I've got.
So what I'm hearing here is that you really do have a box of goodies in front of you that can give a woman everything that she needs to look and feel the best she can as she goes into pregnancy, through pregnancy and through birth. And then, of course, then whipping her back into mental and physical shape after birth, right?
Yes, because if you're really healthy and have a beautiful birth, your rate of recovery is so quick. Not only that, your baby will be so well behaved. I have seen this time and time again, that if you have a peaceful pregnancy and a peaceful birth, your baby is a peaceful baby. I can't promise that, but I have seen it over and over and over again.
I also think that I might just, you know, we're all very different. Now, I didn't have peaceful births. I had 3 epidurals, so I didn't have peaceful births. But because I was cool, calm, and collect as a mum because of what I did, my babies were good. I didn't have stressful babies because I wasn't stressed. Right?
Yeah.
So I think getting through that birthing aspect is one thing, but if you do the pre-work with you and then you do the post-work, then as long as I think as long as, you know, if you're listening to this and you're pregnant, just start to open your mind to learn how to be cool, calm, and collect. Because if you are, then it's all, I think you manage whatever comes up, right?
It makes so much difference. It's acceptance. And that's one of the reasons why I follow women through to early motherhood, because they know me. And I not only provide that mental and that emotional support, is I also provide those midwifery tips and those baby tips and the breastfeeding
oh my God.
tips.
Well, that, my friends, you must listen to this. This is this woman's X factor. This is why working with this woman is going to give you the edge on what you're doing, because she not only understands the mental and emotional aspect and can help you through that, but she knows your body scientifically, medically, and professionally. And I know that that's a whole nother subject that we can talk about. But I do know also that you have a webinar coming up. So tell us a little bit about your webinar.
Yes, I do. The webinar's on Tuesday night at 6:30, and it is about 3 proven ways to feel calm and control in childbirth. And it's based on a method that I've actually compiled together from the strategies that I've seen work, the patterns I've seen, and it's all about meditation and mindset, about how to work collaboratively with your caregivers. So basically, I'm going to reveal 5 really, really good questions to ask your caregivers, and also about how to champion support around you.
Yeah, well,
they are the 3 key factors to making you feel so calm and so much in control when you're.
Well, that is actually, I think knowing the questions to ask, there's an element in control in that, isn't it? Because if you've never done something before, how do you know the frigging questions to ask, right?
Yep, exactly. And you're looking at people with the big white coats. They're the ones that know. They're the experts. But what people don't know is that they're also running on a state of fear. because the medical profession nowadays, no matter what area it is, and we're practicing on a no risk model. Look at COVID.
Okay.
And
Yes.
not only that, they're also practicing from policies and procedures, which are evidence-based, but there's varying degrees of evidence.
Yes, of course.
And a lot
And
of the evidence is very loose. It's
yes,
not
well,
very
this is
substantiated.
why, but this is why having somebody of your experience, your expertise, your knowledge, not just from a local perspective, but from a global perspective, having worked with so many different women and so many models of medicine as well. You've worked with so many models of medicine that you have an understanding of the mindset, the strategies, and the expectations. So that is a lot of reasons why you need to reach out to this woman. I'm, you know, that we are part of your chair crew here, and you are one amazing human being. We love what you're doing. Just in finishing up, what are 3 things that you would like to share with any pregnant woman that are out there listening to us today?
Okay, so birthing and pregnancy and early motherhood is the most incredibly empowering and transformative time in your life. No matter if it's your first time mother, second time mother, third time mother, every single time you give birth, or a 26th time, exactly, you are always going to be different. It's transformative. Now, if you dedicate your pregnancy to be calm and to really get into a beautiful state of health and a beautiful mindset, you can set yourself up for the most beautiful transition into motherhood where you feel so empowered. It's like you're a superwoman. Once you've seen this, once you've been through this, you can do anything. And that is the secret of being in your power as a woman.
Wow. Well, I don't have anything to add to that. All I can say is if I was pregnant, I would be sending you a message right now because
I've seen it over and over and over again, Susan. It's incredible.
Yes.
And I want it to be, I want to shout it out from the top of every building.
Well, I think that if I had had a Pippa in my corner when I was pregnant, I'm not a worrier, so I don't worry about stuff. But you know, it's all about not knowing where you're going, and how sometimes the imagination can create visions that are drawn from somebody else's experience that may not be true to you, you know, and ways to stay calm, ways to just be in that moment. I know that if I'd had you when I was there, that I know that it would have helped me through mine. So if you are pregnant and you are feeling all this stuff and you just don't know where to go, reach out, click on the link and join Pippa for her webinar on Tuesday. But you're going to be able to listen to that anytime. So join in, because then you can build the relationship with her. But hey, call her firsthand. How would you prefer a woman to reach out to you, Pippa?
Okay, well, I'm on socials, Pippa Pregnancy Coach, on both Facebook and Instagram, so they can follow me there and reach out to me there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on SC7 TV. You will be back, because I think going into the science of pregnancy would be a great next step of conversation to have, because I think sometimes, I know for me, when you understand how things work, it makes sense to do certain things, right? Because there's the emotional side, there's the mental side, and then there's the scientific side. So we will be back with Pippa, because I like talking to her, and I know she's got lots of stuff that can help you.
And Nelson Mandela has got a beautiful quote about education, about educating the world is the best way to change people's perceptions. Education. And this is what I'm in. This is what I'm in for. This is my jam.
watch out for the recording. Have a wonderful day. Always remember, you're amazing. You deserve to live your healthy, wealthy, rich life. We will be back.
Yep.
Bye, Pippa.
Thank you very much, Susan.